All right, so we're doing a new age fireside chat that we have rebranded to Moscow Mules after Moscone. I'm here with my boy Dan from Sysdig, and we're at a good buddy of his restaurant here, Sauce. You got to check this place out. Down like a cool little side street. What's the deal with this restaurant, man?
If you're ever at a conference and you want like comfort food, come to Sauce on Belden. All right,
it's a pretty sweet
shameless
spot.
Plug.
So we're drinking Moscone Mules after Google Next. Well, it's still going on. We skipped out a little bit early, but we thought we'd talk about the week. It's a pretty crazy week. Well, why don't you give a quick intro of yourself?
Sure. Hey, yeah. My name is Dan Papandrea. I'm the field CTO with Sysdig. I've been Sysdig for the last 3 years. Prior to that, I was at HPE for 1 year. I was working on the Helion product. And prior to that, I was at an investment software company called Advent. Yeah, Sysdig is great. I mean, we've been growing leaps and bounds. I mean, and it's great, by the way. Congratulations to you guys. It's so great to see, your growth. And, I remember talking to the U3 guys at the Residence Inn in, the theater district, and just being like, yeah. And it's so great to see your growth. And like seeing the parallels between the two companies and seeing you guys on the main stage and seeing our logo on the main stage was phenomenal.
Yeah, man. Cool.
Good way to end our week, bro.
Yeah, it's been a good week, man. It's nice to see. So 35,000 or so people at Next this year. And luckily they've renovated Moscone, so it was actually pretty smooth as far as getting in and out. The way they connected them now, you don't have to go outside to cross from north to south.
Yep.
I didn't get to a lot of sessions. Well, I went to 2 sessions. One was my own, and I went to 1 keynote, and that was when we're in. So I'm looking forward to catching up on a lot of videos. But they do a great job on the production. So we're down here to meet people, right? That's what I've been doing. So you weren't doing a lot of booth duty this year, but I'm sure you got to talk to the booth. Looked busy. Tons of customers interested in what you guys are doing.
Yeah. So I did a session at the booth at 1 o'clock daily, and but we had I was answering a lot of questions for folks that were walking up to the booth, but it was mostly just the integrations with specifically Google, like GCR. GSCC, which is their command center. It's almost like a SIM that all the events that are signals that are happening that you send your data points to. And also, we announced recently eBPF support at the kernel level for cause. So instead of having to compile our sysmod probe, now it just does it natively through the kernel being presented at the node level. So that's been really great.
That's a really good story. Right? So having to, I know people always ask that having to have to compile that. And it was always an issue, especially people have, golden images that have been signed off on. So it was always a bit of work. So that's a big one, just to ease the pain of getting it out there.
Yeah, and I mean, again, one of our, the strong point about Sysdig is where, this ability to tap into the kernel for this data source, which is system calls, right? And having that and then correlating that with, API data from Cube or, public cloud providers. So you can, when you're deploying something, you're calling it the same namespace name and all the collection of pods in there, and then you can kind of see how your services are reacting versus having to code and go and tag things and, getting charged for every single tag that you're doing and what have you. So that's kind of, the value of Sysdig. And again, any mention of Sysdig without mentioning Loris Digiani, who's one of our founder, who, was one of the main proponents of Wireshark. Any discussion I have always refers, and any of our salespeople have, it always includes Loris, because he's such a beloved figure in terms of all of us. Even when I was interviewing at Sysdig, it was I was in awe of him, because I was like, man, you saved my bacon when I was a director of IT.
It was the real deal. Yeah, they were the real deal. I know we've been doing a bunch of work with GK On-Prem. We've been leveraging our friends at Packet for bare metal service. And Tim's been, we've had a few network issues that we're trying to sort out. So we're doing some brand new stuff. So I know I was on a call with Tim the other day, and Wireshark's up. Yeah. So we got to the bottom of the issue. So shout out to all the Wireshark lovers in the world. So.
Yep, absolutely. Much love. That's the pedigree of Sysdig, is now you can get to the bottom of what's going on with your services, and also you can secure those services because you have this really amazing data source, the kernel and system calls, to be able to do behavioral rule sets using our open source tool Falco and our Sysdig Secure product. So now we also launched at at Google Next, we launched our Platform 2.0, which basically we're now merging the UIs. So now you're going to be able to see, it's like an overview of all of your services, not only key performance metrics from a monitoring perspective, but also and visibility perspective, but also security. So you'll be able to say, hey, of this service I'm deploying, 6 of these images are compliant, the other ones aren't. Oh, and by the way, I have 6 rules violations on this service and all of that. So it's just, extending functionality that we have with our product.
So how are you finding, with any of these new tools, especially in the Kubernetes space, one of the biggest challenges, sometimes you get them installed, but they're hard for people to use them without putting a lot of thought. You guys have got some default dashboards. We just did a project with Optiva, and we installed Sysdig immediately and got all the baselines done. So we need to be performance testing these environments and things like that. But just getting some default dashboards, and I think the security one will be a big one because it's always been, you could call it 2 different products.
Right.
And the teams are merging nowadays. We all have to be looking at security. We need to be looking at monitoring, analytics. And, one of the things I love about Sysdig is it's so easy to get started with. Monitoring should not be as hard as it has been in trending and graphing. But it is for people, is the reality. And putting on the analytics side of it all now is really helping customers. So how much time are you guys spending with customers that are adopting Sysdig just to get them up to speed? Like, what's your client success look like when a new customer comes along?
It differs from the 5-node kind of startup versus the enterprise, right? And so we've been cognizant of it and basically adding resourcing on our customer success and technical account managers to be able to help people. Look, it's a daunting task. You have to understand Kubernetes. You have to understand your infrastructure. You have to understand security and all of those things. So having a helpful hand from partners like Arctiq, or Sysdig, and going hand in hand and being okay, here's my whole life cycle of my service or my application. Those are the things we're doing to help a customer, and also we're trying to, again, even with the merge of our UI in this 2.0, is making it easier for it, based on personas. I'm an application owner. I don't really care about all the proponents of I just need to know, is my service reacting properly? Do I have enough resources? I'm in DevOps to be able to support this service. Maybe I need to add more resources. Being able to instantly just being able to see it is something that I think we do really well, and we're continuing to do. And we're also getting feedback from customers too. The way that I always approach any customer I talk to is, you're not buying an application, you're buying a solution, you're buying a company. So meaning we're there for you every step of the way as we grow. If there's things that you need to have in the product, let us know, because it's not hey, we're going to dump this in your laps and you guys are going to have to figure it out. A lot of feedback we've even gotten from partners like you, from customers. Hey, we want you to be able to integrate Prometheus out of the box, Statsd and JMX. We've included that, so you basically can install our agent. It's going to pick up all those things. Oh, hey, you guys should do image scanning as well. We did that, and so we have this one-stop shop, one agent, one backend that's giving you all of this service. So you don't have to have point solutions eating up the resources that should be available for your applications. So that's what keeps me at Sysdig. That's what keeps me interested in where customers are going, because I learn from every customer I go to, and I'm sure you do as well.
It's the whole power of sharing information. I mean, the single dashboard is kind of, we started out 3 years ago. We needed a really deep, good monitoring solution. We found you guys, you're at the system call level. It totally made sense. And knowing that when having that level of data, you're going to be able to do more things. But there was a lot of other vendors that were pointed solutions, but you had to get started. But now we're getting to the point where you can have one SaaS solution that's going to be your single pane of glass, solve your security, solve your image scanning, solve your analytics, and not having to go and pull these out. The nice part is it being a service too. So you mentioned feature requests. I know in the early days we found a few little tweaks of how we were measuring CPU and stuff like that, and we're this doesn't totally make sense with our implementation. Within a week and a half, that's patched and rolled out to the community. So the power of, I think you guys have built a really good multi-tenant SaaS platform, so you're not standing it up every time for every customer. I think that's helped you move really fast as far as development goes.
Yeah, and again, it's just us us really interacting with the ecosystem, understanding what the customer's kind of journey is and how we can help with it. There's things we've had to update and what have you. I mean, there's things we're doing in flight in terms of analytics or PromQL math on metrics. Those are things we're going to include in our product. We've added like a Grafana plugin to be able to if you like our dashboards, great, and we're that data source we can provide to any downstream system. But the idea is to have this very rich data set, which the kernel system calls, and be able to do a lot of different things with it. We have large investment banks that are using our metrics to be able to find, from a data science perspective, I have this large dynamic compute environment, and I basically just want to send a job to it and be done. And they were using like old polling tools to do it versus versus having like a function for you to be able to like instantly see what's going on, because we're at the kernel at the millisecond level. At the booth, for instance, what I was demonstrating this week was, look, here's a topology map which shows all of your services, and I went in and I attacked a pod. I went in and terminaled into the pod, and I hit an exec directory, because all of those things are system calls. And so we built this Falco rules engine, which is open sourced, because all of our products always start in the open source world. A lot of other tools will say they're open source, but they're not. We've always had built it from Jump Street. When Loris built this product, it was an open source product for captures that we then built into a monitoring tool. But then Loris went on vacation, and that summer he created, with a team, obviously, our Falco engine, which was open source that we put out there with CNCF Sandbox project. And then we were able to expand to our Sysdig Secure product, which again gives you kind of a UI and visualization for doing this not just for a single host, but like en masse based on services. So, it's getting feedback from customers, getting feedback from partners, and be able to grow, and that's where we're at. So.
Keep putting new features in it. You have to find that line of. We've been spending a lot of time in Kubernetes. You and I wake up every day and say the word probably 150 times. 1,000 times. So one thing we got to be careful. One of our customers has kubectl on his license plate. Oh, really? Nice. Yeah, and again, it's like we eat, sleep, and breathe it. I'm running it on my home cluster. Like all of our SEs are running on their home cluster. Yeah. So it just we don't want to lose sight of there's a new community of people that are just getting into it. Right. And as the more and more features we put into products, we have to find that good place to start them off, right? Because once you throw too much at someone who's learning, it's a little too daunting. Yep. And sure, there's a whole strategy around this that we can get into that, but sometimes people just got to play around. So I found a lot of people I've been able to point at Sysdig, they've been able to go to the site and get the trial and get started with it without needing any help from me. So that's a big one. Are you finding a lot of people start that way and then convert, or where are your customers coming from? Are you getting word of mouth? Obviously, everywhere we go, we use it as our toolkit of choice for everything we're doing. But where are you finding the enterprise sales are coming from?
A lot of our customers, initially kind of did dabble in the open source tools, and they were like, okay, we're using Falco rules. How can the commercial tool benefit it? And so, it's a lot of work from that perspective. Or it's like, hey, I'm using Kubernetes. I really don't know how to do root cause analysis. I saw a blog that you guys wrote, which shout out to our technical marketing team. They're phenomenal, and it's I know a lot of the articles that we've written. I think we've written some in tandem with you guys in terms of feedback. Has all been based on solving a problem. At the end of the day, all we're all doing is helping them get, understand what's going on, because even us, when we're deploying stuff, it's all new to us. 1.12 introduced, Kubernetes introduced, stateful sets or what have you. 1.13 had, some visibility on like audit capability. 1.14 is doing a lot, Windows capability and what have you. But every day, Windows containers. The customers are learning, we're learning, right? And even our backends, for instance, are running in Kubernetes, where we're managing our backend. So we've surfaced some new dashboards all based on crap, man, like this service, I have Elasticsearch service or Cassandra service, and we created these new dashboards. Like, this could benefit a lot of people. Yep. So we sip our own champagne or sip our own Moscow Mule, I guess. Oh, for sure. And one of the other things I find amazing is the way you guys have licensed it. So it's not a Splunk-like license where we're going to charge you for how much ingest of data, and then you're a customer saying, oh, I'd love to have everything, but
now I got to make decisions, and the time you actually need the data, you probably chose that you didn't. It was probably a bad time to get rid of it. So, I mean, the amount of data you guys are collecting, is there an opportunity in the future to start to aggregate all that data across, like normalize it? Obviously, there's not any kind of application logs and stuff like that coming into it, but then start to build best practices for pod deployments and node pool sizes and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I'm going to say stay tuned on that one, but just go refer back to what I said about, I don't know, like 5 minutes ago about Loris going on vacation.
Is he going on vacation again?
Yeah, this summer he's going to vacation. He'll come back and it'll be like, hey, we have this great thing I want to show. I want you all to see. And yeah, so stay tuned on that. But basically analytics on all the data points that are there and being able to say, here's a time frame, and that we're those are things we're working on.
Yeah, I mean, especially the fact that you have every kind of point of, you've got the data at the lowest level, so now it's just adding complementary things on top of it.
Yeah, I think first off is you got to get your visualizations to a point where they're usable, and then you slap the analytics right on top of it. And again, I mentioned that large customer, and they're using us for data science to be able to say, here's a network connection, here's a process and how long the network connection was, because it's that vital for their risk analysis or whatever at an investment bank level. So again, those are all key metrics that you cannot get with other tools than Sysdig.
And how many people are using the Teams functions? When I first saw the Teams functions, just being able to say to a line of business, I've got all the data, and I'm not going to make you slice and dice it, but I'm going to build you some dashboards and then give you access to that.
Yep.
I got to think that's a compelling. Are people implementing that?
Without a doubt. And so the Teams function with Sysdig is basically where you can set by metadata that you're picking up from Kubernetes or your cloud provider and say, okay, I want to give Kyle access to this namespace, and then or a set of users through SAML or like LDAP. And so it's super useful. The other thing is we're thinking about hybrid cloud, and all the things we saw this week in terms of Anthos announcements of public cloud providers and private cloud providers. Think about now I can say Kyle has this service, and he's only able to see that because I don't want to, show what's going on in, I hate this term, the sausage factory. I don't want to show what's exposed.
They may not want to see the rest of it either. He just cares about how's his service performing.
This application on it, but also segmenting it and having this, segmentation based on, data points that I don't have to create this grouping. We're already doing it for you.
Yeah.
And so to answer your question, it's absolutely every one of our customers is using that from a monitoring perspective, and it's part of our kind of TAM and customer success folks are training them on, but also extending that to user entitlement and enablement for the security product as well. So I can say this person's, from a security perspective, can see captures, I can see a command audit. This one, I just want them to see, there might be a level 2 operations team that is looking at this, and this is the key metrics that they're trying to evaluate.
It was a pretty big theme here at Next. I mean, to me, it was kind of the conference. Instead of, there's a lot of products gotten announced and new things, but this is the first time Google's really come out with a more abstract name for something that they're putting out. And
I think at this point you should edit the video and put in the Thomas Curry on the screen and all our logos like you guys and that's right here. And because it's a testament again to your guys' ability to just be able to help from an enterprise perspective, but also us to be able to see this multi-cloud thing. Even folks from Google are like, wow, this tool really gives you visibility from the enterprise perspective, from the on-prem deployment perspective, as well as through public cloud providers. So
it's right now. It's great we can kind of talk about this stuff now. But last year at Next, I talked about this on the Kubernetes podcast I did yesterday. But we got an invite to be a design partner with Google, and we're the only partner doing this for pretty much until now.
Which again, congratulations on. I've learned so much working with you guys, like in terms of understanding of Kubernetes, in terms of understanding key metrics. You guys have made our product better. That's what a great partnership does. And hopefully we've given you enough, for you to be able to go back to your end customers and say, look, there's a lot of value, not only from our service, but also some of our ecosystem partners.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it comes down to is for us, we're not a traditional reseller, but if we can bring a set of tools into our engagements that make the projects go better and we leave our customers in a better state to manage their environments, then we're doing our job. So.
And I've seen you do it for years. Now it's like 3 years and I work with you guys, and you've done it every step of the way. And that's all. Sysdig only wants to partner with folks that benefit our end customers, because at the end of the day, our end customers are what mutual end customers are basically, you know, we need to make sure they're happy at every step of the game.
Yeah, I mean, we call it our ecosystem, but we've kind of started this early, and people say, well, how do you measure it? You don't really think about it that much. You just go in, if you're mutually helping each other out and you don't have conflicting, you know, motivations. Our motivations are the same, that we want to be successful, but if you're not competing against each other in a certain way and you're just complementing, it's amazing what happens. It's still all about people. And then when I come across someone, I'm going to introduce them to you guys because you're doing a great job, and vice versa. And that's how we've grown most of our business. I mean,
you guys. Sometimes I'm like, oh, they're up in Canada. I'm praying to God that you guys expand into U.S. so I can say, like, Kyle, let's go. Let's do what we did up in the north. Let's do it down here.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of customers that would totally benefit from you guys' expertise.
Yeah, so I mean, we're obviously very strategically aligned and doubling down on the Anthos stuff. I mean, we're still going to play and help all our customers that we've done all our other Kubernetes deployments in, but at some point, you know, we've always believed in hybrid cloud, and what we've put together with, which was called CSP before they got kind of realigned, but we were working on essentially GK on-prem for a while. We got that rolling and stable. Now we're working on the configuration management or config management integrations, which is kind of step 2. And then now you're seeing more and more stuff that are going to fall under Anthos, and it's really going to be, you know, you're going to be able to manage other cloud workloads. We're going to be able to deploy a Kubernetes environment in other cloud providers, and it's going to be the common experience across one. One of the most interesting things I find with you guys, and even you know, you have conversations of, oh, Sysdig supports GK on-prem. Let's talk about that. And your guys' opinion is always, it's the same message I have, is it's just another Kubernetes cluster. It's just another region. I know it's on-prem and it's a little different in a way, but we've architected to be the same.
You know, again, it's a kernel-based operating system host that we can install our agent on, right? It's, you know, look, if you're not running Kubernetes, you're going to install our agent on a host and be able to do the same things you're doing. In general, but again, it was super interesting seeing the demonstration that they had, which was you know, the Anthos I can migrate, where they were migrating, you know, and you've seen vCenter. You've seen vCenter, and you see the guest OSs that are available there, and then they took that guest OS and moved that front end over to, you know, a GK cluster that was basically based in AWS. Mind blown. And you know, I'm sorry, I'm spacing on the lady's name who did the demonstration, but I was so impressed by that.
Yeah. I mean, it's sure these are early announcements, and they're obviously like a use case, but it just, you know, there's a lot of use cases that we got to get out in the field and try it, but just the potential of the strategy and what you can do with that. And I've had a lot of meetings with a lot of my Google Contacts customer meetings, and it's, you know, some customers will bring up, well, we're trying to avoid vendor lock-in at all costs. You know, it makes sense in certain cases. And one thing I do see Google doing is they're putting the upstream APIs, they're following standards. So if you do want to evacuate into something else later, and I think it's just out of necessity. All vendors nowadays need to take the approach of, well, you know, it's a disadvantage for me to on purpose lock you in. If I provide a great service, then you stay with me forever. I mean, that's kind of how we built our business. If we do a great job, we'll have retention and customers will be with us. You know, if we cut corners and do a half-assed job, then you're not going to have a lot of customers around anymore, right? So it's an interesting space from where we've gone from proprietary software to basically you're building a new stack. You go look at the CNCF projects, and you go and see which ones are great and graduate, and you start building your stuff, right, is what it's coming down to. And then you complement that
foundational stack with stuff like Sysdig and other tools. We're a big HashiCorp partner, so we're always putting like Vault and console in cases into these environments. So it's pretty cool. So what else did you take out of the week at Next? I mean, it was pretty massive. I mean, I can't wait to go back and reflect on it next week because I missed it.
It just reinforced some of the bets that we had. You know what I mean? Like in terms of multi-cloud, in terms of things that are going on from a native perspective. I mean, you know, we're so agnostic. We can work on any cloud provider. We work on AWS, we work on Azure, as long as like the kernel is available to us, and also being able to tap into the APIs. You know, Red Hat's one of our big partners as well. AWS. And, you know, I'm here for Google, but at the end of the day, you know, we partner with them as well. But you know, again, that's where I took from it is, hey, man, you know, the value prop for, you know, folks like you who basically are, you know, fairly agnostic in terms of what you suggest. It's for the benefit of the customer. We're the same way. You can bring, you know, I honestly do see a future where it's going to be like there's going to be 3 cloud providers, 5 cloud providers, whatever they are, and so you're basically have this ability to move your workloads, whoever gives you the best price, and, you know, is going to be how you're going to do it. So having this immutable infrastructure, immutable services, and being able to deploy it ad nauseum is where we're at. And so companies, like I said, like Hashi, or a company like, you know, companies, you know, that do like Ansible scripts and whatever. So you can just, you know, from Red Hat perspective, be able to, and operators will be able to do that, you know, ad nauseum.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting time. You mentioned we still see a ton of OpenShift implementations. We're doing tons of them for our customers. I mean, we're pretty much split down the middle between GK and OpenShift. It has been a cloud only, has been our approach. And like I said, we're not focused on the resale side. So the space we play in, and it's hard for some people that have been around the block in the resale game to say, well, who are you partnered with? Like, are you with them, or are you with me? And that's just, that concept doesn't work in this world anymore. Those people that have that attitude, if you do great work for your customers and you deliver great products and you help them make the educated decisions, they're going to try different things, right? And we can't
got to support them.
Yeah, we can't just say that we're all about this. We got to sit and listen to the customer and look at their problem statement and actually solve it and see if it's the right thing for it. So
absolutely.
And I think a lot of the vendor community is catching on to that, and they understand that they've got to deliver great solutions to their service or solution providers, if we want to call like an Arctiq a solution provider. But if it works and it makes happy customers, and we're going to go implement it. So it's going to be interesting to see like the strategy that comes out of the customer base, because they have a different opinion than we do, because if they have different constraints in their business, and they're going to come to us and ask us. The good thing about customers is if we work with them, because they come and ask to us, which one should we use or what should we do? They come and say, these are the things I'm worried about or concerned about. Help me map those to my decision, and we can sit on a whiteboard and kind of make them.
Where we've been successful mutually is like, hey, you know, we have this customer has this issue, and we want to understand how to position. We want to understand how you can help us with this. And you know, it's not like you as a resale partner. You're basically a consulting partner that's saying, look, I've seen this scenario before. You guys should think of this, and this. This is this is the CI/CD process you should be using. And shout out to Shay, by the way, you both gave a great presentation at the show. Again, very proud of you guys. Still remember that Residence Inn Theater District in Toronto.
Yeah, it was interesting. So we did the keynote, Shay and I, yesterday, the dev keynote. We had a slot in it, and it was kind of funny how it went down. You know, you obviously do a dry run before it and rehearse it, and we get out there, and Shay's terminal, they locked him out of his Jenkins terminal, and we're not on our own laptop. These are all this is a huge production, which they did an awesome job, beautiful stage. So Shay got into it, and it was funny. Last night we met some other Googlers, and I kicked off it, and Shay got out there, and he's like, uh-oh. So he pulls out his phone, right? Mr. Security Shay's got the password's not password, obviously. So he looks at it for 10 seconds. He's like, oh, I can't. He knows we only have about 6-7 minutes. So in true Shay fashion, it just pivots and then rolled through the demo, made a couple jokes, and So yeah, demos are real, and they do.
Rule number one
they
of a
do.
demo, it's as long as you're doing it with confidence, it's like, you know what, there's always going to be mishaps. There's always going to be Wi-Fi issues.
Oh, yeah,
there's always going to be like the screen not matching or whatever. But at the end of the day, if you present with passion and you present with like, you know, that you know with that you're confident in things, and you know, people will follow up. It's, you know,
Yeah, just go with it.
Honestly, I was in the audience and I was watching you guys, and it was flawless. It seemed flawless, and I think, you know, we're always our worst critics.
Oh
right?
yeah, for sure.
And I used to play in bands growing up, and it was like, oh, we sucked tonight. And I was like, no. It was like, well, you guys were amazing.
Yeah, the crowd loved it. Yeah, it was fun. So the good part is, the other thing is, that afternoon I said to Shay, I'm like, you know, we always plan for the worst. So why don't you put a blog out of all and do more of a deep dive? Because we only had a couple minutes. Like, let's do an actual deep dive on what we built, because we spent a lot of time building.
But isn't that a great thing? It's like, hey, look, we did this, but now we can follow up and say, hey, we just wrote a blog.
Oh, it worked out perfect. Like, Shay, he canceled his afternoon, took a couple hours, did a blog, did a video.
Yeah.
We posted it just before the session.
Nice.
So that kind of saved us a little bit, obviously. But it just goes to show you got to plan for the worst and have a backup plan always.
Yep.
And I mean, that stuff that Shay got working with Configuration Manager, no one else had access to that, and no one else has done that use case. Google didn't even do that. We just dreamed that up, and we got support from that team, and it's a super awesome, like, now ephemeral clusters wherever you want, and then once you pass a pipeline, deploy to an on-prem cluster. So we're going to do a lot more with that and share a lot more knowledge. It was just cool to be on and part of the keynote. Obviously, we just started this partnership with Google less than like a year ago, maybe 10 months ago.
We saw that you guys have the audience in the customers. You also have the know-how to be able to help customers at the end of the day from an enterprise perspective, but also you understand the technology at a very deep level. So again, you know, folks like Red Hat, right, and folks like Google, they really understand the value that you guys bring. And so again, props to you guys.
And it's nice to see that the large conglomerate vendors are looking for more niche boutique, you know, get it done, roll up your sleeves type of businesses, because you know, it's not easy going to get customers and get business, and especially in this space when you have to find the early adopters and get them in. So having partners to, you know, when you're out meeting with customers, you've got a sales force. We don't operate that way. Just getting recommendations and getting us introductions has been huge, like massive. That's why we've grown our whole business. So it's an interesting business model, because I don't know any other company who's doing it this way, and we kind of rolled the dice and said we think it's time. The market is time, and we're kind of stubborn. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So we're gonna keep riding it out. We're obviously making some changes in the way we run our organization as we grow. So
that's a super interesting thought, because you think about it, it isn't all about tech, it's about community. We go to these shows, and I'm happy to see you guys. I'm like, oh, well, it's familiar. That's my fam, right?
You look forward to it. We all live in different cities.
Yeah, I see the folks from Heptio. If I see Joe Beta, I'm like, oh, you're awesome, man, and you know, and so it's you know, it's a community, and we're getting to a point where it's so large, and you know, KubeCon is growing, and there was 38,000 people at Google Next, man. I mean, and the main stage was talking about Kubernetes. It's like, you know what? It's kind of like, remember when you liked that one band, right? And you liked that band, and you essentially you were the 5 people that you knew like this band, and then they got mainstream. It's like, oh, I'm giving that band out to you, you know? Yeah.
And for me, this week has been great, because I've got to know a lot of Googlers and someone like Weston Hutchins, who I've been working with, very closely bringing GK out. I mean, he's a connector. We walked around today, and he's like, oh, you got to meet this person. You got to meet this person. And once you sit and meet someone in person, tell them your story and what you're trying to do, you pretty much have an instant connection. There's nothing you can't match that in a video call or a conversation conference call. I mean, you got to go around, and these conferences are, for me, it's just a place to connect and meet people, and I'm just so glad to see, because when I used to go to conferences, they didn't have all this production side. Like, if you missed the session, you missed the session, and you were there. So we didn't connect as much. We connected for beers after in the night, but now you don't have to go to every session. They're great to be in, but sometimes I don't feel bad for missing a section, because next week I'll have it on one of my 4 monitors, and I'll watch it, and I'll get work done. So that's get out of this week, or even your role's changing, or it's changed, but now you got to really take Sysdig to the next level, even one step forward. You kind of built it when you were out in the field, telling customers how things work, helping them with dashboards, working through issues. Now you've hired a lot of great people, and now you kind of have to give up the reins of that and think differently, way more strategic, I think.
So it's, and basically what it is the role prior is like we're hiring at such a pace that we really have to scale how we support our customers. So our SEs are learning all these core functionalities. We've been super lucky. Not everybody's going to know everything about Kubernetes or Docker, but they have the ability to kind of learn very fast because they want to be able to help their customers. So that's been awesome in terms of our hiring process. But in terms of me, going beyond the sales engineer role, basically to me it's 3 things. It's 1, understanding how our partners in the ecosystem are presenting the product, so I can be able to kind of present that from the partner perspective. Understanding from our product teams where we're going from a roadmap perspective, being able to say, look, at 20,000 foot view, you're an FSI. You really need to understand visibility. Why do you need to understand it? Well, because it'll cost you money if you don't. And also, as you can see, there's container security is a concern. And so having them understand what the value prop of Sysdig at a 20,000 foot view is kind of what my mantra is. And that's what I think a good field CTO does, is being able to not basically be almost the SE of SEs, and also help the organization and product understand what pieces of functionality are going to help customers in their cloud native journey. So some of the the way that we were presenting Sysdig was, we're a container monitoring tool. It's like, no, we're really a cloud native tool, meaning like
This point, definitely.
we can run on hosts not running containers. But again, having this amalgamated view of everything that's going on in my estate, that's the value prop of Sysdig. So being able to help on that, and so I'm really happy about this. I get to really, at a macro level, kind of preach the gospel of Sysdig out there.
That's great, man. One thing I've always found with you is if you come in to present to a customer something, what's your business problem? What challenges are you guys having? That'll set up the best kind of then you can actually position your product, because as I said, it's gotten so wide. We got to narrow in on what the problem statement is, and then you can complement stuff. So you mentioned container security. We haven't even really talked about that.
And that's solution selling 101. When you say, look, I can interpret what I think you want, but if I'm not asking, hey, Kyle, you don't want that page on Saturday when you're at your kid's soccer game, right? So I want to understand that. I want to understand how you're deployed. I want to be able to demo something and show you this product in a way that's going to benefit you, that's in your world. Every SE that is worth their salt always walks a mile in a customer's shoes. I'm so there's empathetic of a customer, because I lived that world. I was a director of IT. I had to spend weekends patching servers. I had, or patching applications and what have you. So I've been there. So being able to sell at a solutions perspective, not just saying, oh, here, let me click through this PowerPoint and whatever and show you the stock demo. I've never done that. I never will. I will always go and say, Kyle, we're going in to see this customer. Tell what's going on, and then
what's the problem statement?
What's making their heartbeat? And then when we go to the customer, I'll ask them the same thing. What keeps you up at night? What are things what are things that you don't know about Kubernetes that we can help you, eliminate? What are things about your services that you'd like to get more visibility and secure and lock down? So
What's next? You guys are going to be at Summit? You see in Boston?
See in Boston, and we have a lot of amazing announcements over there. Some of the things I can't say, but it's very much in the ecosystem. I mean, we have really great partnership with Red Hat, as we do with Google, as we do with AWS. But again, it's all to the benefit of our customers. We heard our customers telling us, "Hey, do you have these features?" And the folks that are using, this is very similar to what we did at Google Next. We're going to announce, we did the platform there, but there's going to be some really cool announcements on what we're doing for a singular platform for visibility and security for your container or cloud native workloads. And then we go to Barcelona. And then we do VMworld, and then we do another one of our big partnerships is also with IBM. So we're doing a bunch of meetups and things with them in terms of IBM's Kubernetes services.
All right, so let's order some food, man. I'm starving. If you're ever in San Francisco, you gotta come to Sauce. They let us chill in their bar, and
Why don't we meet? You should meet the chef, man. Yeah, but we gotta meet the chef.
You got your
How are we doing? We're just closing out our chat, man. Do we want to do introduce you to Chef Ben?
How are we doing?
Check us out.
Best chef in San Francisco.
Oh, too much.
And we're drinking Moscone Mules.
Love it.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting us use your space, man. We're gonna.
My pleasure. You guys
Thank you very much.
always welcome.
Yeah, thank
Can
you.
I get you guys anything else?
We're gonna order some food, I think.
I made a batch of chicken nuggets yesterday.
So
Chicken
Fresh.
nuggets.
Yeah, it's basically it's like a terrine, and I poached it into this little like a tart. So basically it's a
Sold.
it's a mix.
Sold.
is it an appy or a meal?
Yeah, so 3 pieces and some fries. I call them
Oh, let's do one of those, and then we'll look at this other.
I'm just gonna do. I always do the burger here.
the burgers.
His burger is the best.
So let's do the chicken nuggets. We gotta try. How do you say no to that?
Yeah.
And then I'll do the burger as well.
Yeah, the trick to our burger, you can add deviled egg filling. Like anybody can add a fried egg, but we have the deviled egg filling. It's ridiculous. So let's start with the app, or do you want to start with burger?
Start with the app.
Let's start with the app, and we'll get.
Yeah, then we'll do. I'm gonna do a burger as well.
Awesome. Well, seriously.
Sweet, man. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Chef Ben.
Awesome. All right. Come on, seriously? At Moscone Mules, we got the chef here. Pop took us up with this spot. I don't know. I think this is going to be something I do every year when I come to every time I come to San Francisco.
Love talking to you, man. Again, so proud of you guys. Congratulations to everybody at Arctiq. And again, all the best to you guys.
Thanks, man. So check out our boys at Sysdig.com. You don't need that much help setting it up. It's actually pretty damn easy, but give us a shout and we'll give you some advice and some help, and they get a great team, and I'll see everybody back in Toronto. I'm going to sleep all of next week, so I'll talk to you the week after.